There is no doubt that over the years Eleanor's philosophies did influence mine, and she may have been most proud of me at my State of the Union address in 1941 when I declared, "In the future days which we seek to make secure, we look forward to a world founded upon four essential human freedoms. The first is freedom of speech and expression. The second is freedom of every person to worship God. The third is freedom from want. And the fourth is freedom from fear, which means a reduction in armaments in such a fashion that no nation will be in a position to commit an act of physical aggression against any neighbor."
Well, I certainly could agree with each and every point. So as 1941 began, Franklin was dreaming of peace. As the year ended, we were going to war. One of the most difficult and unusual aspects of being President and First Lady is that while government and world crises are taking place and requiring your utmost attention, the same can be going on concurrently in your private life. At no time was this more true than during the dramatic year of 1941. The year started with Franklin being sworn in as president for an unprecedented third term, and war was raging in Europe.
And in March, I pushed through legislation for my controversial Lend-Lease plan to get needed armaments to Great Britain.
In early May, Franklin was bedridden for 2 weeks, suffering from anemia.
On May the 27th, 1941, I declared that an unlimited national state of emergency existed, which gave me sweeping powers.
Then on June 4th, the hectic pace caught up with Missy and she collapsed, suffering a stroke, which paralyzed her right arm and leg, and she lost her ability to speak coherently. Missy would never fully recover. During her illness, it was actually I, more than Franklin, who cared for her.
Yet, when I saw that Missy's condition would be long-lasting, I changed my will to leave half of my estate to Eleanor and the remainder to be left for the account of my friend Marguerite Lahand, in order to cover all expenses for medical care and attention and treatment during her lifetime. Upon her death, distribute the remaining monies to my children. In August, Winston Churchill and I signed the Atlantic Charter, in which we laid out plans for the future and decreed to fight to victory over the Nazis. 26 nations would eventually sign that agreement, and I suggested calling ourselves the United Nations.
Then came the month of September. Franklin's mother, Sarah, was near death. I called Franklin and told him to come to Hyde Park.
When I arrived, my mother was lying in bed, and I began to chat about all that was happening, and she seemed to rally. But that night she lapsed into unconsciousness, and by mid-morning, September the 7th, Mother had passed away. 5 minutes later, with no lightning, nor storm, nor wind, the largest oak tree at Springwood fell to the ground. I shut myself away from the world while Eleanor took care of all practical matters. And several days later, I discovered a box in which my mother had saved my first pair of shoes, a lock of baby hair, some toys and gifts that I had made for her when I was just a young boy.
After Sarah was buried, I had to rush to Walter Reed Hospital in Washington, D.C. My younger brother, Hall, lay near death. I say younger brother, but he was more like a son to me. After our parents died, I took care of Hall. Right after Franklin and I married, Hall came to live with us. He was the image of his father, handsome, charming, and big-hearted, but had his terrible affliction with alcohol. My idea of hell, if you believed in it, would be to sit or stand and watch someone breathing hard, struggling for words, when a gleam of consciousness returns and thinking, this was once the little boy I played with and scolded. He could have been so much. And this is what he is. Franklin, Paul has passed away. Oh.